On the left side of the screen, I've got a poem called With Rue My Heart Is Laden, laid out in HTML.
This video is brought to you by Pies Academy.
If we were to see what it looks like using the browser without any CSS, go ahead and double click and let's move the actual result in here. And you can see exactly how the poem's laid out, pretty much like you'd expect without any CSS changing the actual styles. Now, I've already showed you how you can take HTML tags like h1 and style them. So we'll take our style tag here, and I'll put it in the head of the document. We'll create a rule for h1, so that'll be our selector. And for example, we could say color red. And by doing that, when I save my document and refresh, our h1 takes on a red. But oftentimes as you develop code, you're not going to want to use as a selector an h1 or a paragraph. For example, if we made the paragraph a selector because we wanted this first paragraph to be affected with our style, so let's say we have paragraph, color, and let's choose from the list here. I love the help that you get from brackets. Let's choose chocolate. Well, if we wanted just the first paragraph, the problem is that this rule affects all of the paragraph tags within our document. So that's where classes and IDs come in. We can mark any content with a class or ID for the purpose of styling. Now, you should note that classes and IDs can also be used with JavaScript to make a piece of the content dynamic, but that's much later on in the program. So let's go ahead and say here, PID equals first. So we're essentially saying that this paragraph tag, this paragraph element, has the ID first, which affects only this paragraph and not the second paragraph, because notice there's no ID there. So now if I wanted to style just the first paragraph as a selector, I wouldn't use P, but I'd use pound, indicating it's an ID, and first. Now, only one element on a page can have the ID first. I can issue other IDs like this, ID equals second, but there can only be one ID named first on the page. So now, when we refresh, just first gets that chocolate color. Again, because the selector says pound first, which means first ID. Now, let's say we wanted certain content to be bolded. Now, the best way to do that is with a class, because we may want to use it more than once. So I'm going to create a class called bold. Since we're doing a class, it begins with a period or dot, just as IDs begin with a pound sign. So that's the class bold, and we're going to use font weight bold. So the rule is font weight bold, and anything we apply the bold class to will now appear in bold. For example, we could apply it right here. Class equals bold. Now, of course, the name of the class is arbitrary. I just called it bold because that's what it does, and that's certainly going to help describe the reason we have the class. All right, so I've saved. Let's refresh, and there we've got the bold class. Now, generally, you probably wouldn't apply it like this. You might apply it like this using span tags. So let's say here, I had a couple of span tags. Now, spans are just what it sounds like, a span of content. So let's say I wanted this first line to be bold. So I'm going to say span class equals bold. And then I'll end the span tag at the end of that line before the break. So now we have paragraph ID first. So this chocolate color is going to be applied. But to just this span that you see highlighted here, the bold class is going to be applied. And you see the change. Now we can apply classes multiple times. Remember, IDs can be applied only once, but I can apply the bold class multiple times. So there I've created a second span, and that should, and let's see, the Lightfoot boys are laid right here. And now this line is also bold. All right, so you've seen how spans can be used with classes and IDs can be used with any element in order to mark up the content and control exactly how it appears using cascading style sheet code.